Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book review. I am going to be reviewing a cookbook that I have been making my way through for the last year and a half, and that is The Cuisine of Hungary by George Lang. I got this book for free at Collingswood Auction and Flea Market 15 years ago, and I got around to reading this after I selected it as one of my TBR die selections. The number that I rolled corresponded with this particular book. And I started reading the portion about the country's culinary history and its culture as it pertains to food. I even made my way through reading the recipes, but I just got around to making them. And usually when it comes to reviewing cookbooks, I like to make at least 3 of the recipes. So I had that opportunity to do it on Thanksgiving proper. We had traditional Thanksgiving a little bit later, but for Thanksgiving proper, I put together 5 recipes from this cookbook. But we'll get to more of the specifics in a few minutes, but for now I want to talk about the structure as far as the discussion about culinary history is concerned and how the roots trace back to various contributors to Hungarian cuisine, such as King Matthias I, who was heavily inspired by Italian culture. He even found his wife in Italy, whose name is Beatrice, and she was the daughter of Ferrante di Aragonia, who was the king of Naples. But this book also explores the fishing methods that were put in place, or that naturalist Otto Hermann put into place, where he would have many of hooks, some of which would have cork on it. When the fish bit into the cork, it just started to wiggle around and inevitably would be caught by a hook, which was an interesting method as far as fishing was concerned. But it talks about the various geographical locations in Hungary and their inspirations and their culinary attributes. And then Lang talks about the what Hungary is known for, and he makes mention specifically to the fact that it is pastries that he feels reflect Hungary. Even though I think here, and in this day and age, the first thing I think of is paprika and really hot and spicy goulash. But Lang said on pages 57 to 58, "If you love wine, you must visit the French wine country. And if you like beef, Argentina will be your paradise. But for pastry lovers at large, a visit to Hungary is highly recommended because these fairy tale pastry shops often produce extraordinary quality." The way that George Lang writes is so eloquent, and it's like you're having an intelligent but comfortable conversation about cuisine and culinary history. It's informative, yet it's casual in its nature, where when he's telling you about the different recipes, he makes mention to the fact that there can be some leeway. It doesn't have to be cut and dry. There are some aspects that do, and there are moments where, when I was making some of these, I did have to cheat, but it was still, I think that still he was very flexible as far as methods that you could possibly alter, and ingredients that you may be able to use instead of others. And then he has some commentary on certain recipes. They're referred to as notes, where they could be anecdotes or personal suggestions, which I really enjoyed that kind of commentary. Probably the chief concern that I had was the fact that there are some attributes that are a little bit outdated, where some of the ingredients are going to be a little bit hard to find, such as, for instance, you're not going to find offal in most of your major supermarkets. It's at most slight occasion. You're not really going to find rabbit, which I don't eat rabbit, but he has recipes in here where you cook with rabbit and other more obscure animals, organs, ingredients, and you don't really see animal lard very often. He does cook a lot with lard, but most of it is vegetable oil, hydrogenated oil, Crisco, but I think his intent was to make these recipes so that they can be cooked in an American kitchen, and keeping in mind that these are items that can be easily imported to the United States. But this book was released back in 1971. So it is older. But I still think that it was... I think that it was still a very useful cookbook. The 5 recipes that I cooked from here are the white tomato soup, which I thought it was pretty good for what it was worth. I think that one can enjoy it through the basic drinking, like they're drinking a tea. But this is one of the instances where I took an alternate route, where instead of actually physically peeling the tomatoes, I got a can of Tudoruso whole peeled tomatoes, and usually there's 7. The recipe calls for 8. I was lucky that there were 8 in there. But I thought they came in good form, and I used the whole tomato rather than I was able to get the tomatoes out with tongs so that it didn't have the sauce residue. Then I made a cucumber salad, which I thought was good. It has a great reflection of the use of not just the cucumber, but the onion and the paprika. I made the major part was the Transylvanian bandits, which is beef tenderloin wrapped in bacon. I used a more affordable kind of beef, and the way that we put it together a little bit differently, but it was still very good, and it goes with a side of cornmeal dumplings, and it doesn't make mention, but the way that it's cooked, it's over caramelized onions, which I wasn't too sure about the cornmeal upon first tasting it, but once you cook it into the residue from the Transylvanian bandits and with the caramelized onions, it does really start to dance well with one another. And I think that they make for a good side with the Transylvanian bandits and the wrap in bacon. And then for dessert, I made the Napoleon recipe, which that was another corner I cut. I decided to buy my own puff pastry rather than make it. It would be an interesting experience to do that, but I thought the Napoleon was really a standout. And I generally don't eat Napoleons, but I thought that the cream filling and just the way that it melded together, I thought was a winner for sure. I think that this book really will help you develop a greater understanding for Hungarian cuisine. I think that even though this is only the first book I've read on the topic, I think that this is a good standard for the time being. And I'm definitely inclined to check out more of these recipes in here, maybe cook some more. Because they're split into chapters. There are soups, salads, sauces. They have chapters for fish, different cuts of meat, such as game, lamb and mutton, beef. And then there's a lot of dessert chapters, such as strudels, torts, cookies. I give this 4 stars out of 5, and I think that this is worth owning if you are able to get your hands on it. Probably your best bet is to find this at a secondhand place that incorporates cookbooks into their book selections. A lot of the used bookstores that I've visited, be it the Book Garden or Hooked on Books, they have great selections as far as cookbooks are concerned. There is a store in New York City that I want to visit at some point, Bonnie Slotnick's. She had that. It's a cookbook bookstore, and I'm really inclined to see what the selection's like there, and what kind of cookbooks I will be able to get my hands on. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel. If you like what you see, please give this video a good old like. If you really like what you see, please subscribe for more. And if you really, really like what you see, please support us on our Patreon, for the money that we make will allow us to provide you, the viewer, with even more great content. For now, and as always, I encourage you to keep reading.